the trash pickup and the recycling pickup all in one single stream. So that means you put the recycling in a recycling bag, you put it in your curbside container. They dumped it all into one trash truck, and then they took it to the facility, dumped it out, and then people sorted through that. And I actually saw that process. And at the time, it seemed to work. There was a lot of people that were willing to do that type of work. However, when Republic Services bought out Chef Container, they had some issues, number one, with a lot of contamination because the material would get put into the trash truck, get compacted, those bags would break open, you'd get contamination, the cardboard would get damaged. So that was automatically not used. And also the issue of trying to find employees that would wade through this trash and sort out the different pieces. They were having problems not only because of just finding people to do the work, but you also had some health safety issues. People, if you can imagine, if you're wading through a pile of trash, there's all kinds of stuff in there that could potentially cause problems like needles or sharp objects and things like that. So Republic is a pretty big company, and I'm not saying that standards that Chef had were less. I'm just saying that I think there's some higher degree of regulations that have happened over the years, and so that bag service just isn't something that they can offer. So at any rate, the city did enter into a new agreement with Republic Services, and that is in effect through 2019 through 2024. This is, again, it's important to note that this is only for residential services. If you have a commercial service, the city doesn't regulate commercial services. So commercial business could potentially have anybody that they choose. I don't know at this particular time how many commercial entities in the city of Saugatuck use a provider other than Republic. And somebody else, Barry, might know, but I don't. I think Republic pretty much has the market on that. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Anybody? Feel free. Committee members?
I have a question. So it's Rana Alexander. Good to see you. I was wondering if you have a general idea of how many people participate in the recycling, like active participants in your recycling program.
That I don't know, but I could get that information. It'd be pretty easy because we would know how many participate by the number of recycled containers that have been delivered. So I'll reach out and I'll find out what that participation rate is based on the number of containers delivered.
Okay, and I think that the city of Saugatuck started, I think you renegotiated about 2 months before Douglas did. I don't know if I've got that number exactly right, but I know it was.
It was right around that time, I believe, yes.
Okay, and so have you noticed, has Republic come back to you at all saying that people are doing an adequate job with what they are recycling? Or if it's still like there's a large contamination level or everything's not clean, do they ever come back and circle back to say, we're still experiencing these issues even though it's not in the yellow bags?
I have not heard any comments from my representative that said they're having any difficulties with the recycling being contaminated or not contaminated. The other thing, and I don't know this answer, I need to find out, but I would suspect that when the recycling vehicle comes in, it probably just isn't solely servicing the city of Saugatuck, because Republic has customers in the township as well. So I would imagine that all that gets dumped into the recycling truck, and then when it's full, it gets transported to the facility where they sort it. So I don't know if they'd be able to tell if it was necessarily Saugatuck is the one that contaminated, for example, or is putting, if they have a high concentration of some type of material that's causing a problem. I'll find that information out though and report back.
And do you know, I'm sorry, one more question. Do you know if all of the residents that are utilizing the curbside pickup, if they are aware that they were supposed to call to get a bin? And I'm asking because in Douglas, even as much as 2 weeks ago, somebody had, at our last pickup in Douglas, they said, oh, where did you get your bin? So it wasn't widely known that they were supposed to call to get a bin, and then that there was only once a week. Because when I drove around today, I noticed that a lot of people have their recycled bin out, and I don't know if they're filled with, I don't know. There's just a lack of communication there, at least on ours, but it's fairly new. So I just wondered if you got any feedback on that.
Well, it's interesting because no matter how hard we tried to get the information out there, there's always somebody that just, it's just hard to reach everybody.
Yeah.
Monica has sent out notices in the newspaper. We've posted stuff on our social media page, our website page. We've put it in the council packet. So I'm not saying that everybody knows about it because some people just don't see those notices, but I think, and also I know the staff, Monica and Peter, get a lot of phone calls when this first took place, and they answered a number of phone calls informing people of the process. And I think we still get phone calls on a regular basis too. So I think I feel confident that the city at least has done everything in our power to try to get the information out. But I can't tell you that everybody knows about it, but I think we do have a high percentage.
Okay, can I ask one last question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this is great. You're fine.
Okay, did in your contract with them, did you dictate a percentage of the recycles that needed to make it to the recycle center? Is there
No.
anything that dictates?
We don't have anything in there that's that it just says it'll be picked up and then recycled. We don't have any quantifiable measurements to say this amount has to go in or not go in.
Okay.
This is Linda. I have 2 questions.
You're
My
good.
first one, in the original agreement that I know ended in 2013, but in 4.01.3 it says recyclable material containers in such quantities as may be requested by the owner or occupant. Does that mean, I know that we could get more bags if we needed them. Is there a way that people can get a second recycling container since it's only going out every like 4 or 5 weeks?
Yes.
Is there a way to get a second recycled container?
If you need additional containers or additional pickups, the customer can purchase those. So if you do get another container, I don't know the answer. We'd have to have the Republic person contact, but I don't think that they may charge additional, just like you would if you got an extra rollaway container for your trash service. The bill goes right now when someone in Saugatuck signs up, they get a certain size container for their trash and a certain size container for the recycling. That's all billed into the price. If you want additional services, the provider can provide those to the customer, but it's an additional charge. So it's kind of like your cable provider. You can get the basic package. If you want more, you can pay for it.
Okay, my other question is, that's good to know that that is an option. I keep hearing people say that they've heard that the Republic Guide doesn't recycle, whatever. Is there any written documentation to prove that the recycling is recycled? Or we're just taking it as in their word?
Well, there's nothing that's submitted in the contract that requires them to submit some sort of manifest or something of where it goes. I think in my conversations with my representative that I deal with at Republic, I think that'd be something that if the council wanted to have that information, they would be more than happy to kind of supply that to them and see maybe what the contamination rate is or something of that nature. But no, nothing. We don't have anything that is submitted on a quarterly or annually basis that shows that. Previously, with the chef container contract, when recycling material was valued, the city actually got a rebate back on the material that was sold. Those were the good old days when there was a revenue stream associated with the recycling material. But right now, obviously, there's not. So we don't get that.
Okay, so basically at this point then it's just we're taking their word for it, and they could tell us they're recycling but really throw it in a landfill, right?
I don't know legally if they could do that.
Right. I think that
Yeah.
might be a good question when we do get the Republic Services rep here. I think that might be a good question. I mean, these are good questions to know, I think, out of curiosity. So Mark, I see your hand raised, but I'm going to stop for a second. Barry has joined us. Councilperson Johnson has joined us, and I know he has a great deal of knowledge and history about the city of Saugatuck recycling and waste hauler contracts as well. Barry, do you have anything you'd like to add, sir?
Yeah, I was putting my hand up this way, but I didn't want to interrupt anybody because the questions were really good. And I apologize for coming in late. I was watching the governor, and I don't know if you know or not, but she's opening up the UP and Northern Michigan at midnight on Friday. So,
yeah, I saw that.
and then, you know, people don't pay attention, they're shutting them down again. So, reason I mentioned that, I came in late. Did Kirk share? I'm assuming that the Douglas contract is almost exactly the same.
Yeah, Kathy's going to take us through that here in a bit.
Okay, good. I'll let her do that then. And as far as Linda's question, you know, the waste haulers are charged a tipping fee every time they pull into the landfill. It's to their advantage to tip less. So economically, recycling still makes a lot of sense for them. So they will take those recycle things and send them to the sorting center, and that's where they're going to go through. And I don't have a clue how they sort that stuff out, and I want to learn that, you know, while we're all doing this. I would hopefully someday we can take a field trip over to the sorting center, because I think it would give us a lot of insight about how they even deal with this. Because, you know, we used to put it in bags, and one bag was newspapers. And I figured, well, that's easy. And the other bag was cans. So now you throw them all in together. Well, there's technology that I've heard. There was fans that blow the paper this way and magnets that pick up the cans. And, you know, there's technology going that I really am looking forward to get up to speed on. But for them just to say, well, we're recycling and they're not, that's not economically feasible for them. They need to recycle as much as they can.
Yeah, and that we'll hold that question. And the field trip is a very good idea when we are able to do that again. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Mark, if your question is, if you're dying to ask it, going ahead. Otherwise, I'll have Kathy kind of take us through the Douglas contract, and then really just open it up for. And Dan, I see your hand as well. So.
Well, it's not a dying question, but I mean to tag on to what Linda was just asking a few minutes ago, and that's basically that there is not an audit provision in the contract. And I would imagine the same thing holds true for Douglas, that neither municipality has the right to audit Republic's procedures.
Right.
And that's something that should be considered next time a contract comes around.
All right, let's see. Who else? Dan, I think I saw your hand up.
I mean, I can wait till after Kathy. It's kind of a clarification question. I just want to confirm that the city of Saugatuck doesn't pay anything directly to Republic for these services. It's all on from my understanding from reading the contract, it's all the responsibility of the individual residents. Is that correct?
That is correct. The city just is the catalyst to say, if you want to have a trash service, you have to use a single hauler, and this is the single hauler that you can use, and the city negotiates the rates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy, and Kathy can walk us through Douglas.
One quick question on that. Since the residents are responsible for paying the hauler, does that mean that the resident can refuse to use Republic and contract with a different hauler?
No, because of the because it's an ordinance.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a single trash hauler ordinance, and yep. So the answer would be no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. North.
Okay, so I kind of have gone through this with Rich as well, but recycling's been an ongoing issue, as Rhonda knows from being at most of our meetings. We've been wrestling with the bag for last year. And like, we renegotiated with Republic, and ours is just a little bit different. The rates are pretty much the same. I think our contract, it only extends until 2022. A couple of differences. I think in ours, there is a little statement that includes that each 6 months they need to provide written documentation to us that they are properly transporting and disposing of all the materials. I talked to Rich about that today, and our first pickup was just last week. So we so far don't have much any information as yet, but
Anybody else? Kathy, I'm having a hard time with your connection.
in regards to
Kathy's bandwidth is low.
we're in the same
Yeah.
boat with
I think we lost her. Are you there, Kath?
On.
I think we lost her. Okay.
Maybe she can just dial in and not be on the video, and it may come through easier if someone can text her.
Yeah, let me let me send her a quick text. I'll tell her to dial in. Dial in. It'll be a better connection.
In the meantime, can I fill in a blank real quick? And I don't
Yep.
know, I
Yep.
think it might have been Linda that asked about the separate container. I know in Douglas, you can get a separate container for an additional $3 a month. It's not an additional pickup, but it's an additional container. So that said, I don't know if it's the same in Saugatuck or not. Kirk, I know that you said that there was an extra fee. In Douglas, it's $3 per container per month. So
That's good to know, because a lot of people are concerned that it's not enough, that one container is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
yes, and I was definitely on board with that not being enough with a once a month pickup. I'd prefer trash to get picked up once a month, which would push people to recycle more. But I think that's many, many years from now that people could be that fastidious. And I know with the short-term rentals, I think that'll be an issue, just because if I was renting out a spot, I don't know that I'd want to have my initial renters recycles outside my house from 3 weeks before the next renter came.
Right.
But that was what was negotiated, and understandable. Republic was felt like that it was too much, because we've paid the flat fee for recycling and for garbage. To add in an extra run with a separate truck twice a month instead of once a month was the issue.
Okay. All right. I do know that Kathy was yesterday. She was comparing the two contracts side by side. So when she comes back and joins us, I'll ask her how far she got in that document. So let's see. All right. Anybody else in Douglas have anything to add? No. Okay. So this is a question for Mr. Harry Kirk. Would you be willing to reach out to our Republic Services rep to see if we can get that person in to visit with this group?
Definitely, yes. You just tell me the date you want, and I will get it set up for you.
All right. Why don't I? When we get done today, I'll set up another doodle, maybe 2-3 weeks out, and we can see if we can get that person on. And I think it would. I'm really intrigued with what Kathy was saying as far as having that included in their contract with the statement that every 6 months they would provide written documentation that they're properly getting rid of their recycling. So
Sure.
and
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You're good.
My experience is that if they're providing that to Douglas and we wanted to have that same documentation, they've been very willing to supply whatever information we have. So I'd be surprised if they would say, no, they wouldn't give that to us. I think if we ask for it, I think, but I'll definitely, we'll get them set up and get them on the part of the meeting.
Great. All right, we've got Kathy back. And then somebody was talking.
Sorry.
Oh, you're
Can you hear me
good.
now?
Much? Yeah, a little bit. You're still kind of catchy, but ooh.
Can't put my, router
Yeah.
there.
Did you dial in, Kath, or did you zoom in again?
She's frozen in time.
Yeah, she is again.
Oh,
Mm. Yep.
Like, Garnett,
Going ahead. Yep.
I'd like to suggest that prior to
nope, I zoomed in.
Yeah, hold on, Barry. Yeah, Kathy, why don't you call in? All right, go ahead, Barry.
prior to the Republic person coming in, I think it'd be really helpful and fair to them if we give him a list of questions that we're going to ask him,
Yeah.
so he's prepared.
Yeah.
I don't think they have anything to hide, but we're going to ask him a question that may be a burning question that if he has time to research it, he'll have the answer.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So that'll be our assignment for today, gang, is sending those questions along. That's fair. I would rather that they're prepared than not at all. Okay, somebody had their hand up. I don't know who it was. Patrick,
Kathleen
go
Clage
for
has been
it.
waiting.
What's that?
Kathleen Clage.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Patrick's on the committee, so let me pick him first. Go for it, Patrick.
The subject of the report every 6 months, I think if one factor in this is if it's in their interest to recycle as much as they can, it also would be in their interest to give us information, detailed information about how much of our recycle is being done, and of course they can't get the information about the errors, but they can give us information about the things that can't be recycled, and do that on a 6-month basis, actually more often. So if all of a sudden they can't dispose of glass, or they can't dispose of polyethylene or whatever, we can somehow get it so people know that. So the percentage of recycle goes up, they recycle more, we're being practical about it, and it helps everybody.
Got it. It's a fair question to ask for them in advance. Okay, Kathleen, I know you've had your hand up. I apologize.
Oh, she's muted.
Uh-oh. Muted.
By us or by her?
Nope. Oh, nope, she should be fine. Yep, she says, never mind. Your volume might be down on your device, whatever it is you're using. All right, very good. Kathy's lost to us also, so we'll just continue on. Just general questions, maybe for Mr. Harrier and Mr. Johnson, since they're on the phone with us while we've got them here.
I'll make a comment real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, what Linda Escott was saying. I'll tell you, I have more stuff. One bin's not enough for me. And maybe I'll get caught up, but if this once a month, I don't know when I'm going to get caught up. So I'll probably end up buying an extra bin for a while, and just to get caught up. And I knew at the front end it was going to cost me extra, but that's just the amount of, Amazon boxes and everything else I got.
Yeah, right. All right.
Can I ask
All right.
one more? This is from the amendment to the Waste Services Agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about the 32 or 95 gallon solid waste container. It talks about a container for recyclable. Then it talks about a container for yard waste. I've never seen a yard waste. I thought that was just piled up on the road and it got picked up. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you can, you can purchase a container for yard waste because the city does not pick up grass clippings. We're unable to
Okay.
do that for state regulations. So you can purchase a container to put in yard type waste. And some people do purchase that item.
Okay, good to know. I just had never seen one in yard waste, really? Okay.
All right, I see that Kathy's joined us again, this time on the phone. Give it a good try, Kath.
Okay. Where did I leave off? Did you hear anything I said before?
Let's see, you were talking about this, you have a built into your contract a statement that includes that every 6 months they would provide a written document that they're properly disposing of the recycling. And then you were starting on separate containers for $3 a month, I think it was, but that's where I lost you.
Okay. Right. Well, you can have a separate container for $3 a month. There are also some other services, I don't know if you discussed, but you can get, where they would actually come and pick it up in your rear of your house and take it out and dispose of it. You can pay monthly. There's all kinds of different programs that you can get. And again, like Kurt said, that's a service that the individual resident would pay for. But there was no additional charge for our residents to switch to this bin
Okay,
program.
okay.
Our first documented pickup is supposed to be in September, or the first time that they're going to give us evidence that they're properly disposing of the material. So that could give us a better idea at that time of how things are going. I was going to also comment on a question, about, I can't remember. I was going to respond to something that Rana said, but I kind of lost track of what it was.
That's okay. Well, while you're still kind of at it, I was telling the group that yesterday when you and I spoke, you were comparing the two contracts side by side. And curious
Correct.
if you managed to get that done, if you'd be willing to share that with everybody so they at least have it.
I did. It's not in a real readable format right now, but I'll be glad to put that together and do it. There really wasn't much different. The one thing that ours did include that I didn't see in the Saugatuck agreement was that there was a statement that says, and I can read that to you, but it talks about if we were to enter into a intergovernment agreement, it says, in the event the city of Saugatuck and Douglas enter into an intergovernmental agreement to provide for the coordination and regulation of solid waste, recycling, and related services across the two communities, the contractor shall apply an incentive in the form of a line item discount to on the invoices to the residents. Have you ever heard of anything like that, Kurt?
Actually, I have not. Now, when it says discount to the invoices, it kind of leads me to believe that they're going to give a discount just because they own it. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying to figure out how they do
Yeah,
it.
I asked Rich about it as well, and he wasn't familiar with it, but it might be something that we would want to pursue and see what kind of break we could get.
Definitely, yep.
Well, as Barry suggested, when we, for this next meeting with the representative from Republic Services, that should be a question that we can ask that person in advance with everybody's question.
Okay.
That'd be worth knowing. That's kind of be worth knowing. All right. What else, Kath? Anything else?
I think that's, Kurt pretty much summarized exactly, that's the exact same program that we have. Like I said, we're only 1 month into it. And a lot of people still have not received their bins. They're not very organized in the way that they deliver them either. So in the small little subdivision that I live in, they're here every day delivering bins. I think they have been here for the last 2 weeks, dropping one off at a time. It's not very organized.
Got it. Okay. So I see 2 hands raised, but one might still be from before. Patrick, you have anything? No. All right, Rana?
I just had a question based on that last comment about if they entered into an intergovernmental agreement, then I know, Daniel, originally you had been talking about trying to figure out something for the township. And maybe that, you can piggyback on that question to see if we added the township, what that would look like for the residents there in addition to the residents here. Frankly, I think our garbage pickup is super inexpensive. We pay $160 a year, and it kind of blows my mind that that's how much it is. So the fact they'd give a discount, that's great, but also maybe that would benefit the people in the township just as well. So maybe that would be the tri-agreement between all three. So just wanted to bookmark that.
All right.
You know, that's a great comment, Rona. But the big winners, if they choose to band together to get a best rate, is going to be the township. You know, Douglas and Saugatuck have kind of paved the way, are seeing huge savings, and the independence of some of the people in the township are going, well, you know, that's anti-American or whatever. No, I see this as us banding together and collectively getting the best deal possible. And I think when we get the results of that survey back, when you see people paying $40 a month or whatever, they're not going to be in the cities. They're going to be in the township. They're going to be the big winners if they choose to get on board.
If I may speak up when there's time.
Who do we have?
Small
Who is it?
business.
Who is it?
James
Who's
Yost.
Okay, James, go for it. And then I've got some hands raised. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, my concern with the direction we're headed here is we're eliminating competition. I work for a small business and compost, and we get shut out of small businesses. We're not allowed to pick up their organic matter because they have these single hauler contracts. So I don't think that's the way Saugatuck Douglas really might want to go if they want to go green and sustainable. We make very fine soil that we can sell at a profit. We're viable. We could continue to grow and continue to expand in this area. But if the contract gets even more restricted, we've got no shot. Right now, I would say about 3% of what we collect ends up in the landfill. So this talk of Republic gets everything, that's a great deal, yay, 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 gets my blood boiling. So I'm going to mute myself, but I would like to be on the record for that.
Okay, so noted, sir. All right, let's see. I've got some hands raised. I think it was Patrick was first. Patrick, go for it.
On that subject, with all three entities negotiating, you know, it's possible we can carve out compost and have the best of both worlds. And I think it's really important that you bring that up because I didn't know that. So when the township went through its single hauler debacle, you know, if we'd known that and we could have worked with Jeff, it might have, you know, because they don't want compost, I don't think. So I was saying the township, you're right, the gains are in the township. We recycle, we have a recycling bin and we have a garbage bin and we have a yard waste bin, and you know we're paying multiples of what Saugatuck and Douglas pay. So if you use the facilities, the township is really expensive. We happen to be A's now, but I would suspect they're all about the same.
Okay. All right, Demetria. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So in terms of the township and the residents there, so can someone tell me the number of residents in that located in the township compared to Douglas, the city? What would you say?
I had that somewhere.
Is there like 10,000 people that live in the township areas?
No.
About 3,500 in the township. 865 voters in Saugatuck, and I think voters in Douglas is about 1,200.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You also have to take in consideration that all of those communities, the population escalates once you get past May.
In a normal year. Yeah. All right, Dan, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I talked to Griffin, our township manager, about this issue, and one of it is the single hauler issue that, you know, when it came up in the township, there was a great outcry about not wanting single hauler. But the other issue that Griffin was concerned about was that if we did engage in a contract with Republic, or even if we had individuals voluntarily form like a separate contract that wouldn't require all the residents, that somehow that would get rolled into a tax increase. So I think that just seeing the way that the Saugatuck City contract is laid out, where all the residents are paying individually, that kind of solves at least one of the initial hurdles, or the concerns that the township has with, engaging in any kind of negotiations. But I mean, it would be interesting if a contingency of the township residents that already have a contract with Republic would be interested in rolling into, an existing contract with Saugatuck City. But it's just an idea that, at least seeing your contract, it doesn't solve the single hauler issue that a lot of residents in the township are concerned with, but it does solve one of the problems, which was the township really had no interest in negotiating if that meant rolling that cost into a tax increase.
Got it. I see Rana Alexander. Got your hand up.
Yep.
Is it Rana or Rona? I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly.
It's Rana. It rhymes with Donna. Donna with an R.
Got it. Okay.
It's your best route to success.
Okay.
Okay. I just wondered, Kathy, does the Douglas contract address compost at all? Or is it only recycling and trash?
It does not. It does not.
Okay, so Jim, I very much appreciated your input. That is something I had not considered. So that maybe that would have to be spelled out. And I wondered if there was anything else somebody else could come up with that we hadn't thought about, if it does become a discussion.
I don't think I saw it in ours either.
No, I don't think so. Kirk, do you know, Barry?
There's nothing about compost in our contract. It just wasn't on the radar, but I know, and I think, Garnett, you got me in the loop, that the Uncommon Grounds, there are some businesses that create compostable waste, and they're begging for something to do with it. Now we got James Yost, sitting here, and, nobody's trying to cut out anybody. We're just collectively doing our best deal.
No, your guys aren't trying to cut us out. Republic's contract cuts us out, not you guys. I know Saugatuck doesn't want to stop composting. That's why I moved here. But Republic's contract cuts us out because it says single hauler only. We run into schools that can't do it. So I just wanted to make sure it was known and be on record. And I appreciate the support.
And I would say that now our eyes are wider open, and even the city government, Saugatuck Council, that'd be a discussion worthy thing to bring up, to carve out compost, because I just can't believe Republic. But, that's the question for the Republic guy.
It is. All right, I've got Patrick with his hand up, and then Mark, I see you. Patrick.
Two things. I think that when we went through the single hauler thing with the township, frankly, that whole thing, in deference, they did the haulers, especially Jay's, did a really good job of organizing his people for his position. And it was a situation where a small group of people, which was a large group all in one room, really had the day. And I think that a better job could be done with the township, informing the township, and getting the broadly out, getting surveys out, doing that kind of thing. It was a kind of a unique situation to say that the township doesn't want something because of that meeting and what went on is pretty broad. I was there, and it was an event, to say the least. Okay.
Nope, you're fine. Let's see. I've got Mark with his hand up.
Well, just going to mention that on the survey, there is a question about composting.
Yeah, very good. All right. Anybody else? Just general questions about the contracts? If not, if you would please, in the next week, if you could send me your questions in advance for the Republic representative. And that will help us be kind to that person. I think it's only fair. Great suggestion.
So pick a date in the next week, by next Friday or by next
Yeah,
Wednesday?
what is today? Monday. How about next Monday? So next Monday is,
Okay.
well, Memorial Day. So next Tuesday. Tuesday, what is that?
26th?
Yeah. May 26th. That will be great. And that way we can kind of go from there. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Okay, I'm going to move us on then. And thank you to Mark Epstein for drafting up a survey. I know I saw some comments and questions. I know, Barry, I saw yours as far as, differentiating between the township and the city of Saugatuck and Douglas. And in my past life, I did research analysis, data analysis, and you can separate out survey responses by their location. So you wouldn't necessarily have to create a whole separate survey for the township. You could actually just analyze your data. You could do a crosstabs based on locality. That would work really well. I had a conversation with Ken Freestone on Friday, and this is just generally for the whole group if we want to get into a discussion about this. We did add an item and felt it was important. What is the best way for you as a resident to be updated and current on current recyclable materials? So what is the best way that any trash hauler could update you on what are the right recyclable materials? Because, we tend to, at one minute it's glass and then it's not, that kind of thing. So I'd like to add that question. The other item to kind of think in mind is the length of the survey. If we want people to respond, it has to be, pretty quick and easy, a little shorter. Yeah. So I think we kind of need to look at what is really, when we entered into this, so I'm just going to throw this out there and then I'll just stop talking. When we entered into this whole process of setting up the advisory committee, it was number one to be looking at just the whole component of education. Because they're really communication education. We really haven't had what feels to people like a really good concerted effort, because if you talk to folks, some folks know that you can call and get another bin, some folks don't. Like Kathy mentioned, there's not really any kind of a organized system to when they deliver the bins, all that kinds of stuff. So, if we can approach it from an education perspective first, that would, I think, probably be helpful. So any thoughts and questions and additions to the survey short of edits? Because what I'd rather than getting into the weeds on a survey document, if you have strong opinions about the way in which things are asked or formatted, I would have you send those through electronically rather than in this means. I see Dan's got a question. Hold on. Dan's got a question. Go for it, Dan. Dan? No. All right, Linda, go.
One of my questions, I have two. One of them was answered in our previous discussion, but the other one I have is, are residents and businesses going to be completing the same survey?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and again, that kind of goes back to, you can analyze your data in a crosstabs format by comparing, removing business or removing residents and then looking at their responses. So.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, all good. Dan, your hand's back. Dan's hand's back up.
Sorry about that. I totally didn't even realize. But so I was thinking, so I know that it's next on the list talking about this possible grant.
Yes.
But from reading the grant, I was thinking that, we may not want to think about, we may not want to think about this as just like one survey. That maybe perhaps one of the questions that we ask is if anybody is willing to participate in future surveys or participate in kind of recording their recycling habits, so we can actually generate some quantitative data going forward. so we can identify like who is interested in kind of revealing to us a little more about, you know, what they do in terms of recycling. And then also,
Can you write that? Send it to Mark. Oh,
I
good.
can totally do that. I already have it written.
Okay.
And then the other thing, based on the grant, you know, they're interested in knowing how, you know,
I'm going to have you hold that
Sure.
thought on the grant.
another question that we might ask is how many people are willing to modify their purchasing habits if they find that, you know, certain items can't be recycled, whereas other items can be recycled, to see if, you know, sending this information out not just helps us better recycle what we're already purchasing, but actually encourages people, or people are willing to purchase items that are more likely to be recycled.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anybody else? General thoughts and comments about the survey? And again, if you have suggestions, I would ask that you send them to Mark to include in his document. And then Mark, maybe you and I can kind of look at the final document. Patrick, I see you have your hand up, sir.
Oh,
Yeah,
Garnett?
just a segue to Dan. Dan's comment is that it seems to me that we ought to get some kind of questions about how to find out how much people are willing to be involved in reducing waste. You know, that's at the front of this stream. It's the most productive of everything we can do about recycling is not recycle it, is not buy it, not do it. And I'm not sure exactly what that question would be in general, but we should get some idea whether people just don't care or whether they'd be willing to work with reducing waste. And what Dan was talking about is a specific thing, but more a general question about reduction of waste in general.
Okay. Mark, I see you have your hand up, and then Barry.
Yeah, well, I just had a brain gas.
Okay, hold that thought, Barry.
Yeah. If for those of you that have seen the draft of the survey, if you think there's a question on that survey that is irrelevant or shouldn't be included or changed or whatever, please make sure that you send me an email with that so that I can make those changes and we can get, because I don't know, we haven't set a date as to when we want to get this out, but I think the sooner the better.
Yeah, that kind of depends. Okay, Barry, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, my comments about the two surveys, you clarified that, Garnett, that, you know, since it's at the beginning of the survey, you know, how you analyze is going to change immediately as you go down the list there. And then to Daniel's comment about, are you willing to change? What comes out of this could very well drive the community to go to our local grocery stores and say, I'd rather have eggs with the cardboard container than one with the plastic, and watch what happens when you do that local grocery store. That'll be the one that sells out first. We can, you know, be engines of change by doing that. And that is stuff that apparently Daniel qualifies us for the grant.
Right. Correct. Good. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments?
I think I don't know if everyone has the last draft of the survey, but I think I did include a question regarding use or the not using thin plastic bags any longer from businesses. Would they be willing to stop using thin plastic bags?
Okay. Good.
And that's
All
a
right.
question that, you know, goes directly to the businesses in this case, because they would have to be the ones to initiate that.
Okay.
As shoppers, we can use recyclable bags on our own.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? General comments? Okay, so please send any edits or suggestions to Mark. That would be great. I'm going to take us ahead to this, the pursuing of a possible grant. And let me, and of course, these things always, and this is a lot of information that I want to make sure that our manager and my fellow council member hears. So Ken Freestone, he reaches out to me early Friday morning, our friend in Holland, and says, hey, by the way, Eagle, all that money's been appropriated, so it can't be, even with the COVID situation, that money cannot be taken away. So they had appropriated all these funds for up to $400,000 worth of, well, it's much more than that, but funds for recycling type initiatives. And we chatted about it. And the one that, of course, caught my eye was as far as the data collection, analysis, and facilitation, because that's where we're at. So I've basically started kind of noodling with that yesterday, and sent a note to a couple people and have had a couple volunteers that want to help me kind of draft that. It's the grant itself is all of, it can't be any more than 6 pages. And really that, not including appendices, but 6 pages is a pretty short grant. But for our purposes, basically the objective of the grant is to create new markets or expand existing markets for recycled materials, which I think is what we're about. Projects proposals must describe how the project will, and in our case, increase the use of recycled material, resulting in greenhouse gas reduction and waste avoidance, which I felt applied to us. And then literally everybody, and their brother could apply for it, from for-profit, nonprofits, cities, villages, townships, schools, any other businesses or organizations. So basically in reading this, what they also are encouraging are a matching grant, matching funds. And so I have started, and this is for Kirk and Barry to hear, I've reached out already to the Douglas UCC because this is one of the things that they feel strongly about. I have a meeting with the Rotary Club here at 4 o'clock about that. And then I'm going to probably reach out to, I see it, my Uncommon Ground person on the line here. I'm going to reach out to Guy and Kate and see if maybe you all might be willing to participate as well. Just using our data that we had from the city survey that we did regarding recreational and medicinal marijuana, we're talking maybe $5,000 to do a mailed survey. And that, I think we could probably really set it up to have a lot of it done electronically. My friend Elizabeth Estes is quite good at this. So I think we could really have a pretty good thorough distribution of the survey document, survey instrument, and analysis for probably around $5,000. And so the match, a quarter of that would, I can't even do my math, 1,000, whatever that is. So if you divide that up by a couple of entities, we're talking a couple $100. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm pursuing. The deadline for that is the 1st of June, which is really doable. So with that, I'll shut up and see if you guys have any questions about that. And help me out if you raise your hand, I can see you.
I have a question.
Throw my name out there as someone interested. Okay. I actually have a meeting tonight to discuss this.
Yep, hold on. Okay, that was Jim Yost. Okay.
James Yost, yes.
Yeah, James, you go by James. Okay, Barry, I'm sorry.
Oh. Either one's good, but yes, I have a meeting tonight with a grant writer, and this is one of the ones that we are pursuing as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, is this with your company?
There's also a USDA grant that's available right now. Can you hear me well? There is a USDA grant also available right now through June 26th. That also addresses waste, composting mostly, so it's in my field, but something that I might be recycling too. I didn't read it too thoroughly for the recycling portion. I can forward that to people.
Yeah,
I am meeting tonight with a grant writer who used to write grants for the YMCA, and she's very experienced and loves to get involved in these kind of things. I'll ask her tonight if she'll help people who want to work on this thing.
Okay, thank you. All right, Barry, I see your hand. Go for it.
Yeah. You mentioned that June 1st is doable. Who's going to do it?
I am. I am. You're fine.
We don't have the staff in the city to do that.
No, that's not what I'm asking. no. I actually sent a note out, I don't know, must have been Friday, and I've had a couple folks from the committee step up to help. So you're fine. It's not an expectation that I had that anybody from either city would do that. So
Excellent. Yeah, the city managers are pretty busy people right now.
all good, all good. Yep. Anybody else? All right, so the other thing I wanted to, I'm going to stop there with new business and again, encourage you then all to get your questions for the Republic Services representative to me by next Tuesday. Next steps, so that's the first next step is setting that up, and I'll work with Mr. Harrier to get that time set, and then look forward to a doodle request you all for the next availability. The other thing on next steps that I wanted to share with you was Ken Freestone also shared with me his excitement about working with an individual from Eagle and BioNova. They're a composting unit system, and they're interested in composting food waste. So this might cause the ears to prick up on some of my business folks out there on the line. But Ken is going to set up a meeting with this Eagle representative and the representative from BioNova. And then he asked me if I had a few folks from the committee who might be interested. I knew that was right up Daniel's alley. And then I'd also been told that that was of interest to Jim. So Ken is in the process of setting that up. Is there anybody else that would like to participate once that is set up?
I can also speak on behalf of Douglas Elementary School. I'm on the design committee as well as the sustainability committee. They are also interested in grants for composting.
Okay, cool. Very good. Rana, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Rana, okay. Very good. So stay tuned. Stay tuned on that. All right. Okay, any other next steps that are of immediate attention? So Mark and I will work on finalizing the survey. The small group of us will work on that grant. Stay tuned on the composting, and we'll work with getting the Republic Services gentlemen scheduled. Anything else? All right, if not, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Yep, I see Demetria out there. Go for it. Go, Demetria.
Yeah, in regards to the survey, we didn't exactly set up a deadline for questions to get back to Mark. Did we want to?
Yesterday.
Around that?
Yeah, why don't we just keep
Yesterday?
it, well, let's keep that on the same schedule as the questions for the Republic rep. If you can, any revisions or additions, of course, we'd appreciate that sooner rather than later, but by the latest on Tuesday, that would be great. Okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, Daniel, I see your hands up. Go for it.
So kind of going back to the survey, and I'll include this in an email, but it probably would be important just for the grant to include a question about people either planning to survey the communities again, or identifying individuals that would be interested in giving us data in terms of their recycling habits, because the grant does ask for or looks for like a kind of a continuation of a project.
Yeah.
And I think just thinking that way would be helpful in terms of applying for the grant.
Got it. All right. Linda, I see your hands up.
Yay! Okay. I just found it. Okay. For those who don't know me, my background is elementary education. So when it comes to children, that's number one with me. And I just totally off the subject, but I wanted everyone to know there are 2 children in our community that on Saturday they're having I think it's from 11 to 3 or 11 to 4, they're having a bake sale. And the money that they are raising will be given to the Rotary Club Small Business Fund. It's their way of saying thank you to the small businesses in our area for the help they gave their school of Douglas Elementary. So if you are out and about on Saturday and you're in the Maplegate area, on the corner you will find 2 little Burkholz girls selling their heart out, to raise money for the small businesses in our community. So just letting you know that.
All right.
Kind of
Very
like a
good.
lemonade stand. Go find them.
Very good. The bake
I'm done.
sale stand. Very good. All right. Again, public comment. Anybody who's out there, I know we have a lot of folks on the line who are listening in. Anything you'd like to add, visitors?
Yeah, I'll add something, Arn.
Great.
So talking about the kids, so one of the reasons why I sit in on this is we are interested in getting more going on sustainably at the schools.
Great.
And so I just wanted to give a little update on that. So we've created a committee, which Jim mentioned. So there's a group of us parents that are going to be starting at DES. And I'd already talked to Michelle Gus before COVID hit, and she was very supportive of us doing more. And as most of you probably know, there's that beautiful garden in the courtyard at the school. And there's already some parents doing some awesome stuff with composting and just, you know, teaching curriculum wise with the kids coming out and doing the gardening and composting. So we are just now kind of starting our mission of writing out a mission statement of what we want to do. And kind of per what Rana had started out with the first meeting here is we want to take baby steps and just do what we think is attainable and little by little add more to it. And so we just had our first meeting last week, and we'll let you guys know since it's very much aligned.
Nice.
And I'm talking with Mark Needlinger tomorrow because we're hoping, since we're such a small school district, that we can have both, you know, DES and middle school, high school involved with this and create a curriculum for the kids and change the
excellent.
world.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. Wonderful. Very good. All right. Excellent. Other public comments? Such a quiet group. Kate, are you still on the line? You have anything you want to add?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just wanted to shout out. I'm Catherine from Uncommon Coffee Roasters. And I just wanted to say thank you for letting me sit on in this meeting. At our cafe and at our roasting facility, we're trying really hard to be good stewards and recycle and compost as much as we can. And, you know, we're really concerned, this COVID world, everything's takeout. Everything is, you know, to-go containers and all that. And we're trying really hard at our cafe to have, you know, people dine in and use cups and, you know, minimize all the waste. And so now everything is, you know, takeout again. We have recyclable, compostable cups, and, you know, we work really hard to have those eco-friendly to-go options. But, you know, we're working with somebody that's composting our coffee grounds, a farmer that's picking up our coffee grounds. Our food waste at the cafe, we compost, but are looking for other options. And then we're recycling our cardboard boxes, but we'd really like to look at more recycling and composting options for our cups and lids. And from what I've been told, that is more of a big recycling or composting facility. It's not the kind of cup you could put in your home garden and compost. It takes a little more to compost those cups. And so that's where we started investigating and working with Ken Freestone. So any information you have for us or anybody that wants to chat, let me know, because we definitely are working hard to do our part and recycle and compost and do what we can, because it's a lot of cups in the trash, and we'd like to not see that happen.
Yeah, very good. All right, you can connect with the schools right off the get-go, or you probably already connected for all I know.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, anybody else? Public comment?
Jess Gray. I see Jess Gray.
Hi. Yeah. I'm sort of new to this. I missed your first meeting. And I'm actually Saugatuck Township, so I'm kind of curious. I know you, Douglas and Saugatuck are trying to figure things out with Republic. When we first moved here, we had Republic. We actually just switched. But I'm curious because they were trying to get one carrier, and it was all misconstrued by different newspapers, and the information was hard to find on what was going on. So I'm just curious, how is Saugatuck Township being represented in this, or what are we looking at for the township, I guess?
Yeah, we have 3 representatives from the township, and let's see, who all's on from the township? Is it Patrick, Daniel?
Daniel.
And Mark? Yeah, so they have 3 representatives. But I have a note here, Jess, that I'm going to reach out to Griffin and see if not the next meeting, then the meeting after that, that we can go through the township contract, just kind of, because everybody else has shared their contracts. Sound good?
Garnett,
Yeah, who we got?
the township actually doesn't have a contract.
Yeah, there's no
Oh, okay.
contract.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. It's up to everybody. Everybody's on their own.
Everyone is on their own. This is one of the things that Patrick, Mark, and I kind of figured out talking to Graham, that yeah, the township has no contract. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I don't think that we all have plans at this moment in time to pursue a single hauler. But we are interested in, like Patrick was saying earlier, waste reduction, general education, and then also just kind of finding out, like through this next survey, you know, who has paid the extra money to get the recycling cart service, who's still relying on the yellow bags, things like that, just to kind of get a sense for the landscape. But I don't think that we have any plans on pushing single hauler. And actually, I'm interested in hearing more from James, because if we have the option of pursuing alternatives, I think that would be great.
Okay.
I would be
All right. I see
happy
Patrick's
to,
got his. Oh, wait. I see
Sorry.
Patrick's got his hand up.
I don't know
Patrick?
how to do that.
It's over. It's under. I think more. You can raise your hand. It's on the Patrick.
Lower
Go for it.
left-hand corner.
So I just want to emphasize and agree with Daniel, and also agree with, I'm sorry, I didn't catch who was making the original comment, but I agree with you that it just wasn't done in an organized way, and it was a real mess. And I think that the council is understandably somewhat reluctant to dive into that pool, because it was a real problem. But I don't think we should assume that a modified single hauler or some kind of initiative to give the residents of the township options to do what they need to at a reasonable price. I don't think we just should assume that that's off the table completely. I just think we'd have to do a lot of homework, and and other things, perhaps pay back quicker. But I wouldn't assume that it's a dead subject. I think it has to be more flexible than it was last time.
Got it. All right, Barry, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, a couple of things kind of came to mind is in the question in the survey is, you have a contract. Well, yes, everybody has a contract. If you're in the township, you contract with whoever you use. So really what we're trying to find out is the government, is your municipality have a collective contract with a hauler? Well, we know the answer to that because Saugatuck and Douglas do. And we know ahead of time that, and I knew this, that the township does not. Everybody's on their own, but everybody has a contract where they're going to be just blown away is what the savings is. And there was one other point. So if I think about it, I'll raise my hand again.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Public comment? Up. Barry's still got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, lower hand.
Yeah, that's all good. Anybody else? All right, very good. So we've got two things I need from you. Mark, sooner rather than later, any additions or revisions to the survey? Thank you, Mark, again, for all the legwork on that. And then at the latest next Tuesday, questions for the Republic Services representative, so we don't blindside the poor person. Those are the two immediate ones. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. That's
That was Linda. Yep. Second, please.
Alexander, second.
All right, with that, we get a roll call. Monica, please.
Escott,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Epstein,
Yes.
DeFranco,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
North,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Terrian,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Adjourn 3:23.
All right. Thanks, you all. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank you.
tuned.
Stay safe and wash your hands.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
Very good.
Will do.
Yep. Very good. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Sorry.